Welcome in everyone to First Down Punts, a new show for you about the world of football and how it applies to fantasy football, all season, every season. As always, thanks for watching. Now, let's start the show.
And welcome in everyone for another episode of First Down Punts. I'm your host, Coach Chris. Today we're going to be going over the top 32 quarterback rankings for fantasy football. Before we kick it off, some things of note. I forgot to mention in the last video, the NFL did vote for the players to be able to play in the Olympics for active NFL players, which is always fun. Can't wait to see what happens. There's already discussions about the flag football players that play all the time right now. Should they be involved? Who gets to choose? Roger Goodell will not be choosing the players, so that's awesome. And the one thing about it is there will only be one team per country, or one player from every team per country. So if like you got two guys from Nigeria or somewhere else, you can't have both of them playing for Nigeria. You can only lose one of those players to Nigeria. So just something that I thought was interesting. And they're going to kind of limit what you can do. But it'll be interesting to see if they mix fantasy. I'm thinking about fantasy football. But if they mix pro and full-time flag football players. So definitely different rules to the game. We'll get to see that. And can't wait to see what happens in 2028, I think it is. So definitely interesting. Other than that, the Bengals are still being fools about their contracts with their defensive players. This keeps pissing me off because I hate organization doing this to players, and especially the guy you just drafted. It's one thing for like Hendrickson where you're like, oh, we don't have the money to pay him because we paid these other guys. But the guys you just drafted, you can't figure out the contracts. Just ridiculous. So just something of note. But we're going to kick this off, guys. We're going to go from 32 to number 1. And we will start it off with number 32, which is Will Howard, quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a rookie this year, coming out of Ohio State off their championship run. They have not signed Aaron Rodgers. He keeps playing this bullshit game. And until he does sign, I'm not going to consider him a starting quarterback. So he could retire. He was talking about retiring as a Packers if they want him to. He's just a diva, man, that just drives me nuts. You know, people talk shit about all the wide receivers or the DBs showing ass all the time. Aaron Rodgers is the biggest diva the NFL's ever had, and that's saying a lot. And he ain't been great the last few years, so I don't understand all the we got to kiss his ass and all this other good stuff. He needs to get in camp. He needs to get in rhythm with the players he's going to be playing with if he's going to be playing. And if he's not, just fucking retire already. I just don't understand it, but I think the Steelers should go with Will Howard, personally, or trade for Kirk Cousins. That's the latest rumor, which I had already mentioned in other videos, that he was a backup possibility. I think that he was the original plan, hoping the Falcons would cut him and they could get another cheap deal like they did with Russell Wilson. But didn't end up happening. They're going to have to trade for him if they want him. And it really comes down to how much will the Falcons pay of his contract. But until they do, I got Will Howard as the starting quarterback. I think it will be a rough go if he has a start day one. I think by the end of the season, you'll see the potential that he has, but definitely not what you want to go into the season with. So he's number 32. We move on to number 31, the Cleveland Browns' Joe Flacco, which if this was Shador, he'd probably still be ranked right around here. And if this was Kenny Pickett, he'd probably be behind Will Howard or Dylan Gabriel. They'll be 32. I might put him at 33 and just leave 32 open. But I don't like either one of those guys, and I'm going to keep saying it. I do think Shador has potential. I don't want him to start day one. And Flacco is the best for fantasy, especially for the receiving options. And Joe Flacco, what is he, 41 now? 40, 41, something like that. Dude's still got an arm. He can still wing it downfield. He's a little bit slower foot speed, all the other stuff. That's why he's going to be ranked down here, because I don't think the Browns will win a ton of games with him. But I do think he will be viable for fantasy football as a streaming option on certain weeks, as a backup in a super flex league. You're not going to lose just because you have Joe Flacco on your team. I think he's still a guy that can put points on the board. It's just going to be sporadic. It's a roller coaster, and that's why these guys are down here. And I don't know if he'll start all season. That's the biggest reason. Same with number 30, Russell Wilson. I don't know if he'll start all season. I do believe Russell Wilson starting the season as a starter. He might only last 4 weeks, man. I mean, that's just a fact. If they come out and go 0-4, Brian Daboll has to do what's best to save his job. This is not about Russ ain't got no ties to New York. He's getting signed there because other people didn't want him. They needed a guy. They had already signed Jameis Winston. with the aspiration of drafting a rookie and maybe having Winston start the first few weeks. At the end of the day, they have Winston, they have Russ, and they have Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart's going to end up taking over by week 8 or 9 if they're not winning. If they come out and they're 3-5, there's no point in having those veterans start anymore. It's time to get the rookie on the road. So Russ is at 30 because I can't guarantee he'll start all season. Like Jackson Dart is probably 33 to me, 34. So on to number 29, J.J. McCarthy. Now, Vikings fans, you're mad at me. Fantasy fans, I can't believe it. I drafted him in the dynasty in the first round, whatever, man. Listen, I wasn't a huge J.J. McCarthy guy. I do think he has talent. I think he has some great zip on the ball. I think he still needs to have a good run game to help him. And with Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason there, I think that will be sufficient to give him some leeway. And obviously with the weapons of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, the rookie Ty Felton, McCarthy's got a high ceiling, but he's got a low-ass floor right now. That's why he's down here. I'm not risking my fantasy season on a guy that could finish anywhere between like 13th and 30th. That's just not how I'm going to risk my fantasy season. He'll be a backup for me in my 2 QB leagues, my super flex leagues. He'll be a waiver guy in single quarterback leagues. He won't even be on a team for me. But I think he has potential. I think the NFC North has some of the best head coaches in the league. And up there in Minnesota, they're doing what they need to do. They're going to set him up. You seen it last year with Darnold, man. Darnold had a great season for fantasy last year. And I wonder what he's going to do in Seattle. We'll get to that. He's obviously ranked higher than J.J. McCarthy. But I was never a huge McCarthy guy. Good college quarterback. Wasn't great in college. He was a good college quarterback. They won a national championship because of that defense and that run game. Harbaugh being the head coach. All those things matter. And McCarthy was the leader of that team as far as from the offensive perspective. But Blake Corum was awesome. Donovan Edwards was awesome. And I want to see what he does before I'm willing to trust him in fantasy. That's the biggest thing. That's why he's down here. Guy number 28, a guy that I was so big on, and I wish they would have gave him the year to sit. I keep saying this for this guy. I keep saying this for a lot of rookies, especially the rookies that you draft that are projects. Why are you sticking a project out there day one, week 2, week 3, week 4? That guy should be sitting the majority of the first year. Maybe you do like Mahomes, start the last game or 2 or 3 if you didn't have a winning season, or if you locked up a seed, let McCarthy get, let Richardson. Anthony Richardson is the player at 28 who can finish as high as 4. He cannot start. That's why he's down here. As much as I love his physical gifts, his potential, his cannon of an arm, he still is having to learn the difference between a 6-yard and a 60-yard pass. Now, you see the highlights they're putting on Twitter or on X, whatever. Still should be called Twitter, but that's another ballgame. But you see the videos they're putting out from training camp stuff that they have and their OTA stuff between him and Daniel Jones. And I think bringing in Daniel Jones was the perfect level of threat for Anthony Richardson to make him say, man, I got to fix these issues. Daniel Jones is not someone that you brought in to start. Daniel Jones is someone you brought in that can run a similar style offense to what Anthony Richardson can do. And at worst, you have to start Daniel Jones. At best, Anthony Richardson figures it out. Shane Steichen sets him up. This is on you too, Steichen. Don't fool yourself. You have failed Anthony Richardson miserably. And until you get it together, you can't count on Anthony Richardson in fantasy football, let alone in real football. The Colts are praying that Anthony Richardson pans out, man. I am too, because I think this kid is a great kid and has all the physical gifts you could ever ask for in a football player, period. Size, speed, height, strength, whatever you want to say, this kid has it. And for fantasy, he's staple back gold if he could pass, man. If he can figure out the pass game. Now, I've never been a huge Pittman guy. He's the bottom of the barrel number 1 to me. Number 1 wide receiver. I would much rather have him as a number 2, but none of the other guys on the team are taking over that number 1 spot right now. Downs is awesome. I like him as, slot guy. Who's the other kid they got? I forget. They got Pierce running down the field, and that Richardson loves dropping bombs too. So they got enough talent, and getting Tyler Warren as a rookie draft, like he could end up being the number 1 wide receiver. I think that was the best thing they could have did for Richardson. Get him a big target close to the line and let him go to work. So I got big hopes for Anthony Richardson, but this is it, man. I wrote last chance you because this is the last chance for Anthony Richardson to be a starting quarterback in this league in my mind. Either it's going to click or it's not. I'm hoping it is, but I'm not drafting him like it's already happened. So that's what I want you to take with Richardson. I still think he has the potential to finish as the fourth or fifth best quarterback in fantasy. Maybe number one overall if he really hits all these perks, all these marks of being awesome. But he has to prove to me that he can do it. This is last chance you to me. This is last chance you with the YOU. You, Anthony Richardson. You are what's going to make the difference. Get it together. Let's see what all those tools come together and be a wizard out there. Number 27, Bryce Young. Bryce Young, you got to prove it to me again. He got benched last year at the first few weeks. Dalton came in. Then there was a mysterious car wreck. I think you hit him. Not really, but it was just ironic that they were ready to bring Bryce back, and Dalton got banged up in a car wreck in the parking lot of the stadium or the facility, practice facility. I forget which one it was, but it was hilarious all the same. But Bryce Young came back, man. His biggest thing was he was throwing too many loud balls up there. It just takes too long to get to the receiver. When he came back, he looked so much more confident, so much more refined on getting rid of the ball quickly, getting it to his target quickly. And if he can continue to ascend, Bryce Young will be higher up on this list next year. If he can't, he might not even be on this list next year. We don't know what's going to happen. But I think Bryce Young has the skills to be a good, viable fantasy quarterback. But right now I got him as a backup because you have to prove it to me again. I'll draft you. I'm just not drafting you to count on you in a 2 QB league. I'm drafting you as my backup with the potential of this guy takes over for one of my starters. And if that's the case, that's the case. That's great. If it doesn't, I cut that guy and I don't have this attachment that I spent a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick on as a number 2 or number 1 receiver or number 1 quarterback or whatever. I wouldn't draft him as number 1 quarterback to save my life. I would just rather I'm checking out, boys. But as a number 2 quarterback, he has potential. And if you're one of those people that waits in a 2 QB league, maybe you get him as a late second QB or something, and he pops off. But right now, I'm not ready to say Bryce Young is going to be my solid number 2 quarterback. That's why I got him down here. And I got him behind a couple guys that you'll probably be shocked about because number 27 is rookie Tyler Shuck from the Saints. Shake your head, shake your fist, cheer me on, whatever you think about this. I like Tyler Shuck. I'm going to keep saying this. This guy would have been a first-round pick if he was healthy. His play-action game, his ability to come out of that, be ready to deliver. Yeah, there was the one shot from the combine. Oh, he threw some wild pass. There's a couple plays that you would love him to have back in college in crucial moments. But that's all developing, guys. He hasn't been on the field enough to develop all those things in those moments. But his ability to throw the football, I don't have any questions about. His biggest thing is staying healthy. And with Derek Carr retiring, I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to be the starter. I know there's buzz out of camp always doing great. There's buzz that Tyler Shuck's doing great too. Who to believe? Probably nobody. It's just whoever likes the one player better than the other. Personally, I like Tyler Shuck better than the other. Believe me, don't believe me. I'm just trying to tell you, this guy reminds me of Jared Goff, but he's a little bit bigger. He's a little bit quicker. And with Olave, if he can stay healthy, with Rashid Shaheed, I finally remember the guy's name running down the field. I hope he's healthy coming into the season. They still got Juwan Johnson, but Kamara coming out of backfield as a safety net for a rookie quarterback. I just think he has enough weapons to be a viable backup in fantasy. And in a deep league, he's going to be, if it's a deep super flex league, you could be starting him some weeks and feel confident that he can do it. And I think it's going to be a rough start. He's probably going to be a guy that ends up on a waiver to start the season, and somebody picks him up after week 5, week 6, once he gets into a rhythm, once he gets moving. But I think Tyler Shuck can end up being a top 20 quarterback probably by the end of the season. Now, is it going to be for the full season? No, it'll probably be the last 8 games. He's like the 18th, 19th best quarterback, maybe 21, 22, but still a guy you could have confidence in starting at that number 2 spot. Whereas the first half of the season, he's probably going to be the 26, 27 best quarterback because he's learning that process, going through it, getting used to NFL speed. These are all things that are going to matter to him. So, but I want to see Tyler Shuck on the field. You ain't got Derek Carr, there ain't no reason not to start him. That's how I feel about it. Get him out there. Let's get him learning, Kellen Moore. Do what you're supposed to do. You know how to call plays. You know how to protect the guy. Get him into a rhythm. Kind of like Bo Nix last year. First few weeks of Bo Nix last year, it was like, oh, this is not the guy. End of the season, he's a staple back, man. He's a dude that I want to draft this year. So Tyler Shuck, he's going to be a pocket quarterback. That's another reason he's down here. He's not one of those running guys like Richardson or even McCarthy's got a little bit of speed to him. I don't think he's got enough speed to make the corner, but I do think he has a little bit of speed to get some rushing yards. Probably end up with like 150, 160 rushing yards this year just from having to scramble and whatnot. But Tyler Shuck is a guy who's probably going to have like 47 rushing yards this year. And maybe he sneaks in a QB sneak touchdown in. But more, he's going to be a pocket QB that is going to make his money with his arm. So number 25 on the list, I got another rookie, and that's Cam Ward. Drafted number 1 overall. He's number 25 on my list because, like I said, I've never been a huge rookie guy. I've never been big on drafting rookie quarterbacks in redraft leagues or in keeper leagues. I mean, maybe a keeper if it's a late round pick or something, but redraft leagues, if I'm drafting a rookie quarterback, more times than not, it's going to be a number 3 quarterback for me because it's a super flex or 2 QB league. Last year was the first time I ever drafted a rookie quarterback in the first 15 rounds, and that was Jaden Daniels. And I got him as a steal in the draft and almost won the championship because of it. I have huge faith in Jaden Daniels, and we'll get to him as we go up the list. But I've never been big on investing in rookie quarterbacks in a redraft league. So keep that in mind when I'm saying these things. If I like a guy at all, it already is saying that I do think he has talent that could be useful. And last year kind of helped with that, man. I mean, besides Jaden Daniels, you had Caleb Williams, who had a lot of rushing yards, not so much passing yards, but did have a decent fantasy season. He was a number 3 QB, but somebody you could have used, especially at certain points in the season. Bo Nix, like I said, he started off like shit, popped off. And Cam Ward, I think he's just going to be a steady guy, man. I think he's going to be a guy that is going to continue to ascend. Now, maybe first week he comes out, throws for 160 yards. I think by week 8, he's probably averaging like 240, 250 a week. And that's scoring points if he gets those touchdowns. I got Calvin Ridley going like 9, 10 touchdowns. You get Tyler Lockett out there. You get the rookie, Alec Ayomaner. I already told you how I feel about the Chimere Diki guy. Not a big on him, but the Ayomaner guy I like a lot. And they lost Westbrook Akini. They got Lockett, kind of replaced that downfield deep threat. Ridley can still get downfield. Chikakonkwo's still there, and they signed or drafted, I think it was Gunnar Helm they got, the rookie tight end out of Texas, along with Xavier Restrepo, who they can just use as a weapon. Pollard can catch. Spears can catch. He's just got a lot of decent weapons, and I think that's what it's kind of like a Geno Smith situation. It's going to be kind of average, you know what I mean? It's not going to be popping off too much. You'll see a week here or there this first season. But over the course of his career, I like Cam Ward a lot. I told you, I think he's baby Ben. You had Big Ben, and he's Baby Ben. He's a little bit smaller guy, but plays very similar to him in the pocket, has a big arm. So I like Cam Ward. I think by the end of the season, he could be the 15th, 16th best quarterback. But drafting him to start in a 2 QB league, not what I'm doing. So number 24, another kid from last year, Drake May. I said this before. I wasn't huge on Drake May. I didn't know really what to expect from him, especially going to New England last year with no weapons. This year they got Diggs. They they drafted Kyle Williams, kid out of Washington State, who I like a lot. I think he was like number 8 or 9th receiver on my board in the draft. And still have Henry, still have Austin Hooper, which I didn't like how much money they paid him, but he's a vet, whatever. And he's a good blocker, so not a great one, but somebody that they're comfortable with. McDaniels likes to run that 2 tight end system up there. They get Josh McDaniels back. They got Vrabel. And I still think their team that could sign another receiver, one of those veteran receivers, the Amari Coopers, the Keenan Allens of the world, to just get another weapon. But they got Demario Douglas there. They got Travion Henderson, who I love, who's going to help Drake May out a lot, man. And Drake May's running capability is going to make him a guy that's going to be close to stable back. I don't think he's hitting it this year by any means because it's 3,800 pass yards, 400 rush yards for a QB, plus 30 touchdowns. I don't think Drake May's hitting all those. But I do think Drake May could be a solid number 3 quarterback, number 2 in a 12-team league. That's why I got him. He's the last number 2 in a 12-team league at 24. and definitely a starter in one of those huge leagues if you're using 2 quarterbacks or got a super flex spot. But Drake May has to earn my respect. That's how I feel about it. He showed some potential. Now show me you can do it now that they got you a couple weapons out there. Show me that you can move up the board for your finishing spot. Show me that you can have more consistency and still have that running capability. I don't want your running capability to go away because you start passing more. I still want that to be part of your arsenal as a fantasy quarterback and as an NFL quarterback. Honestly, I mean, that's what the NFL is becoming. We see that every year. Joe Burrow is like the last pocket quarterback drafted that you have any hope in, and he runs a little. Justin Herbert, maybe, but he runs. So, like, there's not a lot of pocket quarterbacks that weren't already in the league being drafted high to be studs in the NFL, fantasy studs especially. Like fantasy, you almost have to have at least one of your quarterbacks that's a rushing quarterback to survive in fantasy. So just something to consider. And Drake May's got running capability. I just want him to prove it more as a passer to me. He's got some better weapons. Now he needs to prove it to me. If he is, next year he'll be higher. 23, Sam Darnold. His only job this year is to prove it wasn't a fluke. Now, he gets a downgrade in weapons because JSN and Cooper Kupp and Horton, the kid out of Colorado State. I think I said he was the one out of Washington State the other day, but he's out of Colorado State. Definitely got some capabilities, but Cooper Kupp's a year older. He had some issues with injuries and everything else over the last few years, slowing down a little bit. But Cooper Kupp's still a vet, and Cooper Kupp's hands are still incredible. So he's definitely going to be a trustworthy receiver. JSN has to prove he could be a number one, and I think that's kind of why they signed Cooper Kupp after trading Metcalf and cutting Lockett. They needed to get some weapons back in there. Now, is he ready to prove it wasn't a fluke? That's what we're about to find out. I've always been a Sam Darnold guy. I've always liked his capabilities. I know he's seeing ghosts in the Jets. But when he went to Carolina, had McCaffrey, he snapped off for those few games before he got hurt. And then McCaffrey got hurt. Or McCaffrey got traded. I think while he was hurt is what happens. I'd have to go back and look when that happened. But when he has weapons around him, you've seen he's capable of doing things. So the biggest question about Seattle is, are those weapons good enough? To me, I'm not ready to trust JSN as a number one, and I don't think Cooper Kupp is that number one. So I feel like they got 2 really good fucking number 2 receivers. And hopefully that's enough to balance not having a dominant number one. JSN's a catch machine. Cooper Kupp, catch machine. Horton's going to be a downfield guy. And you hope that one of those tight ends that they have can actually do something. They drafted, who was it? Arroyo went to the Chargers. I forget who the rookie tight end they drafted was late, though. But you hope something comes of it. And with Walker there, he's more of he can catch, and they should be using him. We'll get into that when we get into running back rankings. But with a changing offensive coordinator, changing quarterback, changing weapons, Seattle's got a lot of questions to answer before I can say, yes, I'm ready to trust Sam Darnold as a higher fantasy quarterback. So right now, I got him at 23, which isn't a bad spot, but definitely not as high as he finished last year. And mainly because Sam, you got to show it wasn't a fluke, man. I think you can do it. I need to see it, though, before I start ranking you higher consistently, because you have to prove you're going to be a starting quarterback for more than 1 or 2 years. So, number 22, Geno Smith, the guy Sam Darnold replaced, went to went to the Raiders in Las Vegas for in a trade for, what was that, a 3rd-round pick? And I've always been a big Geno fan. I've never been like, oh, I have to have Geno in fantasy. Never sad when I do have him as a veteran that still has a big arm, still knows how to run an offense, still is a little mobile. You saw last year he had like a 32-yard rushing touchdown out of nowhere. Shocked the world, I think, but it was definitely something that he's still got in his arsenal. He can still run a lot. In West Virginia, when he was in college, he ran all damn time. He was a triple threat, as they say, pass, run. He might run out there and catch it. I should say dual threat. Triple threat's more basketball, but he was a dual threat at West Virginia, and he's always had that capability. He's just never been a super fast guy. He's just a guy that knows when to run more than anything. And Geno's a pro, man. They got Jacoby Myers there. They got Genty there. They drafted Dante Thornton and Jack Beck there. Still got Bowers, a superstar. And definitely got a lot of potential for weapons around him. Now are they true weapons? Are they more than just number 2 guys? Can one of those guys pop? Can Jack Beck do it? Can Dante Thornton be that big play down the field who's a true threat to everyone and opens up everything underneath? Bowers is a true number one receiver as a tight end. He's their number one option on every play as far as passing goes. And that's going to take attention away from the rest of those guys. It just helps. And with a pro back there, with a guy like Geno who knows how to get rid of it, knows how to go through defenses, go through his reads, 1, 2, 3, he's going to be fine there in Oakland as long as they can keep him upright. And getting Colton Miller signed to an extension is going to help that. So, Geno, you're number 22. I want to put you higher, but there's just too many guys I like above you. I think more than anything with Geno at 22, it's saying there's a lot more talent at quarterback than there has been in years past when it comes to fantasy starting quarterbacks. And this is why, hey, man, continue to go. Get into a super flex league. Stop these 1 QB, small roster leagues. Expand your rosters, people. Unless you're in a 14 or 16 team league, expand your rosters. Say we need another flex spot, another wide receiver slot, whatever, man. I don't care. Make it a super flex. Get some more players on your team. Score some more points. What's the difference if you score 96 points or 180 points? You're just scoring points. It's just about who scores the most. Why not have fun? Why not have more players? Why not make it a little bit of a challenge? And so you know who a true fantasy football player is, and not just someone who can go pick up the 13th best quarterback off the waiver because you only start in a single QB league. That's just silly to me. 6-point quarterback touchdowns too. Number 21. This is a controversial player for some people, and probably going to be sad that he's down here for a lot of people. Some people have him much higher than this. But at 21, I got Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams still has to prove to me because last year, everybody always got all the weapons. They signed Keenan Allen, who is one of the best route runners ever in football. They got DJ Moore. They got Cole Kmet. They drafted Rome Odunze in the first round. They got DeAndre Swift as the receiving back. What happened? Still didn't hit 4,000 Bears. Chicago, you still don't have a 4,000-yard passer. Now, Caleb Williams, what's the same story we're getting this year? Oh, he's got DJ Moore. He's got Rome Odunze. He's got Colston Loveland. He's got not Matthew Golden. That's the Packers guy. He's got Luther Burden. So we're hearing the same story about the weapons. Now, last year I don't think the offensive line was very good. I think most of us can agree on that. That was the one problem I had with them last year when I couldn't jump on the hype train of Caleb Williams is going to be amazing because they didn't have an offensive line. If you can't block, you can't pass, you can't win. That's just the facts about football, guys. I'm going to keep saying this over and over again because the offensive line is the most important part of your team. You've seen Jeff Garcia have fantasy relevant seasons because the San Francisco 49ers had a good line in front of them those years. Like, that's going way back for you young heads. You probably don't even know who Jeff Garcia is. He was a guy that was a mobile quarterback back in the day, but could wing it. He was just not he was never a great quarterback. He was a decent quarterback. But when you give him weapons and an offensive line, he can do things. And Jared Goff last 2 years, you give him an offensive line and some weapons. Jared Goff is a dangerous-ass quarterback. Now, I have my own battle with Jared Goff, but we'll get into that as far as an NFL quarterback. But as a fantasy quarterback, Jared Goff is gold with offensive line in front of him. Gold. You've seen it with the Rams. You've seen it with the Lions. This is how I feel about Caleb. Is that offensive line going to make him fantasy gold? Or is he going to continue to struggle with the mental part of the game? Toughness, reading a defense. You hear the reports. He wasn't even watching tape but with anybody last year, which I've told you already. Who knows if that's true or not. If it is, it's fucking ridiculous, and Matt Eberflus should never coach an NFL again. And whoever their offensive coordinator was last year, I can't even remember who it was last year because they fired the guy that they started the season with. So I don't remember who took over. I think it was like the running back coach or something, Thomas something. But at the end of the day, Caleb Williams, you have to prove that it's not just the physical gifts you have. It's the mental. You can do it up here. That's where Caleb Williams is right now to me, guys. So all you Bears fans, all you fantasy fans, Caleb Williams has to prove it mentally. It's not about physical gifts. We all know he's got the physical gifts. You can see him every time he's on the field. My question is he going to be okay when the going gets tough? When he gets sacked a couple times early in the game? Is he going to fall apart and just start throwing the ball in the dirt or getting rid of it just to get rid of it? Throwing hope balls because he doesn't want to get hit? Or is he going to be able to stand in there, take the hit, be able to process the defense, what they're doing, see it pre-snap, all the good stuff that you want to see from a starting quarterback? Caleb Williams is yet to prove to me consistently. And for that, I have him at 21. Fantasy-wise, he has all the potential, guys, to be a stable back. He could hit 3,800 yards. He hit like 3,400, 3,500 last year. He could hit 400 rushing yards. I think he had, almost 500 yards last year, I want to say. I'd have to go back and look for the stats. But he has the potential to be a fantasy gold. But he's got to prove it right here. Between the ears, as they say. Between the ears. Are you going to make that next leap, Caleb Williams? No more excuses, bro. I keep saying this. No more excuses for Caleb Williams. All the weapons they got, they improved the offensive line tenfold from what it was last year. Now it's up to you, Caleb Williams. Can you do it? He's at 21 because I still have my questions if he can. That's all there is to it. Number 20. Another guy has something to prove. Tua Tagovailoa. Voila. Woo-la-la-la-la. Mr. Tua. Down there in Miami. He's at 20 for the simple fact of health concerns. And what is Tyreek Hill anymore? That's it. What is Mike McDaniels anymore? Came out on fire. What is that offensive line anymore? Like, these are a lot of questions. I love Tua. He's still one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL, but he needs the time. He still got Devon Achane. They still got Jalen Wright. They drafted the Ollie Gordon kid to help with the run game. They still got Jonnu Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They brought in Westbrook Ikini from Tennessee, the deep field guy. This is really up to Tua and Tyreek Hill to me. Jalen Waddle, I absolutely still adore as a wide receiver. I think he's still one of the best players in that draft. When he got drafted, I still think he's a probably top 25 wide receiver in the NFL overall, period. I love Jalen Waddle as a player in the NFL. So I don't have any questions about him other than can he play a whole game? Because he goes out once a game with a rolled my ankle or strained my calf or whatever else, and then comes back and plays. It's not even like he leaves for the whole game. He leaves for like a series and then comes back. And then he'll leave for another series in the third quarter, and then he'll come back. That's the only problem with Jalen Waddle. But Tyreek Hill has proved that last year he was dealing with injuries. Oh, the wrist was affecting him. Other things were affecting him. Now they can get back on track. Mike McDaniels has to prove they haven't caught up to what he's doing. He has to continue to adjust, continue to grow, continue to expand to prove that he wasn't just a early coaching fluke using that Shanahan system, that he can be creative on his own. And, everything you hear about Mike McDaniels with prior jobs is that he's one of the most creative coaches. You see it in Miami, the things he does with all the motion and everything else. Now, the rule changed a little bit where the type of motions they can do, you have to get set if you're going to be facing north and south, but you can still be moving if you're east and west. That was an adjustment for Miami last year, and it was why I was kind of down on their players last year. Now, I believe a full season of that and getting used to that, getting adjusted to that, making those adjustments in practices on your game plan, in your play calling, that's all going to help them. But Tua still has to prove he can play the full season. Tyreek has to prove it's not over for him. So I got Tua at 20 with the potential that he could finish as the seventh or eighth best quarterback in the fantasy football this year. He could also finish 26th. So I have him closer to 26 simply for the injuries and all those questions I have. But Tua, like I said, still one of the most accurate quarterbacks. I'm not going to be sad if Tua is on my team this year. I'm going to be happy to have Tua with the weapons he has around him, as long as those weapons haven't diminished that I haven't seen. Tyreek had a rough year last year. I don't think Tyreek Hill's career is over. I don't think it's over for one of the fastest men to ever play on a football field. I don't think that's going away. I think a lot of things last year were mental and the wrist injury, and I think he might have had another injury they didn't really talk to us about. So, and now they'll get fined if they do. But I think Tua's going to bounce back. I think Miami's going to bounce back and be much more competitive this year. And for fantasy purposes, that offense is gold when it's running smooth. So, number 19, Jordan Love. Jordan Love had so much hope for you for fantasy, man, and they refused to give you a number one wide receiver. You guys should have traded for Metcalf. You should have even traded for Pickens, even though I think he's a bottom of the barrel number one. He's great as a number two. He still would have been more of a threat than any player you have on your team. And with saying that, that's why I got you down here at 19. Jordan Love's running. He's not a huge runner, but he does run. He can get 200, 250 yards. No problem, which helps in fantasy every time. But Jordan Love's biggest contribution to the fantasy world is going to be his arm. And until they get him a true number one, I can't rank him any higher than this. I hope that he does better for fantasy purposes. If I draft him, I don't hope he does better for NFL purposes because I'm not a Packers fan. I'm a Lions fan. But this isn't a bias towards the Packers. You'll see. I don't care where you are when it comes to fantasy. I'm trying to win a championship. At the end of the day, I'm still not confident Jordan Love can win me a championship as a high number two or definitely number one quarterback. I wasn't big on him last year. I had him lower than some people. I'm going to have lower than people this year because I still am waiting for them to get a number one receiver. Is it going to help to have Golden running down the field in that Christian Watson role? Yes. Dobbs is a number two. They got the gadget guy there who was just recently talking about, am I even wanted here after they drafted Savion Williams and Golden and still got Dobbs. But Tucker Kraft's a solid receiver. He's got a lot of great middling weapons. Just another one of those teams that got a lot of average weapons. Now, Jordan Love is trying to make the best of that. He's got to stay healthy. He missed time last year. That's another part of it. But definitely has the potential to finish as a top 8 quarterback in my mind. Definitely a top 10. And we'll probably end up finishing like 13th this year. But I can't put him there because I have to see it. I'm not willing to take that leap from 19 to 13 right now, simply for the fact that I don't trust any of your receivers to be a number one receiver. And there's other guys that I think that you could jump if and one of them dudes ends up doing it, or you really prove that I don't need weapons. I'm that damn good. Great. Next year I'll have you ranked higher. But for this year, you're at 19 for the simple fact that you don't have a number one wide receiver in my mind. And that's the end of the day about it. Number 18, a guy who has 2 number one wide receivers now, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, you were in the same place as Anthony Richardson. This is last chance for you, dude. For fantasy purposes, we've seen gold from Trevor Lawrence at moments. For the majority of seasons at times. We've seen him, that arm, be live. And with Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter now, you don't have any more excuses as far as having weapons. This is up to you, Trevor Lawrence. You get the new head coach there. You still got the same running backs. Your buddy Trevor Etienne's there. Or Travis Etienne. Trevor's the one who got drafted this year. But Bigsby's still there. Brenton Strange is there. Evan Ingram's gone. Gabe Davis is gone. You signed Diami Brown as a speed guy, and apparently he's having a pretty good camp so far, which is great news for Trevor Lawrence. It just means he's got another weapon out there. But Trevor Lawrence, man, this is last chance for you as well. You got the weapons. The O-line's a little bit better. I wish they'd improved a little bit more. But all the same, man, the new game plan, the new scheme, he's down here at 18 because he's right in that moment, man, where it's like, dude, if he hits with these 2 receivers, he's going to finish as the 9th best quarterback, 7th best quarterback. If he ends up being what he's always been, he's probably going to finish as the 21st best quarterback. I got him further closer to 21 than I do to 7 for the simple fact of I was a huge Trevor Lawrence fan coming in. He has yet to prove what I expected from him. And this, to me, is his last chance. He's on his 3rd head coach. Now, obviously, his rookie season, that whole ordeal, I'm willing to wipe that away like it never happened. But it did happen. So, with Peterson, not sure why it didn't work out. Peterson was a good OC, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles as a head coach. I'm still shocked it didn't work out, but I feel like they had some other issues between the defense, O-line, weapons, all these things. And Christian Kirk last year was there. He's gone now. But to me, Trevor Lawrence is on his last chance. I still think he's got the capabilities. I think this year he's going to prove that he was supposed to be drafted high. Maybe not number 1 overall looking back, but definitely top 10. And what's the difference at that point? If he doesn't prove it, it's over for him. I think Jacksonville's going to be looking for a new quarterback. They'll probably trade him to Cleveland if it doesn't work out with one of those 9 guys they got and move on. But I think Trevor Lawrence is going to hit this year. I'm just not willing to say he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. I'm saying he's a top 20 quarterback here at 18. And somebody you're going to be relying on throughout the season. Biggest shocker, number 17. Biggest shocker for some of you, not for me. I absolutely love this kid. I talked about it in a video the other day. I would have had Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix would have been dead even with Caleb Williams, probably a little bit ahead of him just because I think Michael Penix is better at keeping his composure. Michael Penix is number 17, coming into his first year as a full-time starter, started the last 3 games last year. You could see the potential that I've seen with him getting drafted. Atlanta looked like idiots when they drafted him 8. I thought it was a great move as far as securing your future, even with Kirk Cousins, because you didn't know what he was going to be coming off that Achilles. He wasn't what you wanted. You end up benching him towards the end of the season. Now you're looking, should we trade him? Should we keep him in case Penix doesn't? I think you can get rid of Cousins, whether you cut him or trade him. Penix is your answer to the future. Michael Penix is going to shock the world, I feel like, this year, for those of you that don't know who he is. For those of you that like Michael Penix, you're probably in the boat with me rowing right along. Let's go Michael Penix. We're going to take this bad boy to championship. He's a guy I'm looking to get in the 9th round of a draft and be my next Patrick Mahomes. I drafted Patty Mahomes. I think it was the 10th round I got him. His first full year as a starter, he threw for 50 touchdowns. Now, I didn't win that year because of other decisions I made, but I'm always looking for that young guy that's about to take that leap. I think Michael Penix has that type of potential. Now, is he throwing for 50 touchdowns this year? Probably not. Is he throwing for 33, 34? Yeah, I think he can do that, no problem. Drake London, Pitts, it's time. But with Bijan, Drake London, Douglas, I don't remember if Ray McLeod. I feel like he got signed somewhere else. But if he's still there, awesome. Darnell Mooney, who had, like I said, he had over 100 targets last year. That's a guy you should still be drafting in fantasy. I think they have the weapons they need to succeed with Michael Penix at quarterback. They kept Matthews, extended him. Definitely just a good setup. And they improved that defense, which should take some of the pressure off for Penix. But I still think there's going to be games where Penix is going to have to show out. And I can't wait to see it happen. Like I said, he's a guy I'm going to be drafting as a later quarterback to be possibly a bottom number 1, tier number 1 quarterback at the end of the season. He's a guy that I think could finish at the 8th, 9th, 10th spot and make you look like a genius because you drafted him later than all these other guys. But these other guys ahead of him, I just have more confidence in to do it from season beginning, season end. Michael Penix is more of, he's the risk. He's the risk you're going to take if you're going to take him as a number 2 QB. If you're in one of these 16 teams league, I might just draft him as the last number 1 quarterback and say, let's roll this. Get me a vet, give me a Geno to back him up in case it doesn't work out this year. But I'm like Michael Penix to the moon, man. Put this guy in a rocket and send him off because I'm huge on Michael Penix. I was huge on him last year. Loved his college tape. Love everything about this guy, and the Falcons got a good one in my mind. So, number 17, Michael Penix, shocking the world this year. Number 16, a oldie but goodie. That's Matt Stafford. Rams quarterback. They re-upped him. They went and got him Devontae Adams. They went and got him Terrence Ferguson. Let's go. That's my rookie tight end sleeper special, which I don't even think he's going to be a sleeper by the time the season comes around because everybody's talking about how good he looks in camp and everything. But I love Terrence Ferguson. I think he's a stud of a receiving and fits that mold perfectly there with what the Rams do. But getting Devontae Adams to go with Puka Nacua, Terrence Ferguson, Tyler Higbee, just a ton of talent right there. The offensive line is the one question I have about Stafford. I think I would have put Stafford up a little bit higher than this, which having him at 16 ain't a bad spot for him to be. I probably would have put him at 12 if I would have had a little more confidence in that offensive line. And with that defense, they're going to get turnovers. They're going to give him the ball back in good positions. And I feel like this is a going out party for Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford could hit a 40 touchdown mark if everything goes right for him. Now, health, that's always going to be a question with Stafford in the end of his career here. Started banged up. He's ending his career kind of banged up. And you're hoping he can just stay healthy throughout the season. So that's why I talk about the offensive line, because I need Stafford to stay healthy. That's the only reason he's down here. If I had more confidence in the offensive line, he hadn't been banged up the last few years, Stafford would probably be a top 10 quarterback. He was a top 10 quarterback for years, 8, 9, 10 years there in Detroit and going over to the Rams. Stafford has the cannon, all the tools. I always believed in Matt Stafford. I hated that he left the Lions. I'm still mad at him for the whole situation, but it helped rebuild the Lions into the winner they are today. So I have to accept that. But at the end of the day, Matt Stafford is as a number 2 quarterback, middling number 2 quarterback. You're going to be real damn happy if everything goes right. He's probably going to finish as like the 7th best quarterback. And he's a pocket quarterback. That's the only reason he can't finish as higher to me. But Stafford could definitely have a 40 touchdown season left in him. I feel like this is going to be matching close to his career high days. That was 5,000 yards that he's hit. He'll probably hit like 46, 47 this year and have 35 to 40 touchdowns. With Devontae, like I still believe in Devontae Adams. And getting Terrence Ferguson's only going to help that cause. So big on Matt Stafford this year. If I didn't have to worry concerned about injuries, he would be higher. If I didn't have a concern about offensive line, he'd be higher. But everything goes right for Stafford, he's going to be the 7th best quarterback in the fantasy football this year. Number 15. Oh, sorry. Let me get this out of my eye. Number 15. Brock Purdy, Mr. $53 million man. Just got paid. They still got Ayuk coming back from injury. Now, it's a question when he's going to really be ready. He's going to be ready week 1, week 3, whatever. But he's still a talented damn receiver. They got Juwan Jennings, who I love as a guy that's just slowly developed over the course of his career. And they got Ricky Pearsall, who I was a huge fan of coming into the draft last year. My buddy's a huge Niners fan. When they drafted him at 29, 30, whatever it was, 2 years ago, he was like, what? I was like, dude, just trust me. Just wait. You're going to see what I'm going to see. You seen it at the end of last season. Once he recovered from his gunshot wound and that whole situation, got back healthy, got back in shape, got back in the rhythm of things. Debo's banged up. Ayuk's out for the season. Pearsall came in and showed you what he can do for your fantasy football team. Now, Ayuk, I expect to be back and expect to take targets away. That's why I'm not going to have Pearsall ranked as high as some of these other guys. Yes, is he a high potential player? Absolutely. Is he going to be the guy I draft off of potential? No. I want to get him a little bit later. So when he does pop, I got awesome value. Well, Brock Purdy is a guy that has all those weapons. And if McCaffrey's healthy, which is a huge question for the remainder of the season, or for the whole season, is McCaffrey staying healthy the whole season? That's what hurts Brock Purdy's value. Because regardless of who comes in after that, nobody's the threat that McCaffrey is. Jordan Mason, he went to the Vikings in a trade. They got Garendo. They didn't really get nobody else. They re-signed Patrick Taylor. They got what's his name? Jordan James, I think, who some people absolutely love coming in and think that he could end up being a number 2 running back over the course of the season. But all the same, I'm not worried about him to start off. Garendo and McCaffrey, the top 2 backs. George Kittle, who's one of the best tight ends in NFL, and especially for fantasy, is going to be ranked high in my rankings. But that all includes with Brock Purdy being part of that, being the general, being the leader of those offensive weapons. I don't think the Niners are going to have the fall off that everybody's projecting. I've said this before. I'm going to continue to say it. I definitely don't think this offense is going to fall off unless the offensive line and McCaffrey goes down. Now, those are always possibilities, same as I was talking about with Stafford and his issues. That's why these guys are right by each other. I think they're very similar setup. Brock Purdy runs more. That's why he's ahead of Stafford. That's it. Brock Purdy gets more rushing yards. And in fantasy, that's gold. So, but Brock Purdy has got a steady Eddie, man. He's a guy you're going to be able to count on every week. He's going to have some boom weeks. He's going to have a couple down weeks because the running backs get the touchdowns instead of him. But over the course of the season, he's going to be a guy you can count on every week to be that solid number 2 quarterback behind whatever stud you got at number 1. And could end up being the 10th, 11th best quarterback, 9th best quarterback in fantasy over the course of the season and end up there by the end of the year. So, number 14, Kyler Murray. Oh, what an enigma. The guy that could run for 600-700 yards. The guy's got a cannon, all this other stuff, but yet he still drives you insane on a regular basis. The size is always a concern when those 300-pound defensive linemen are landing on him. It's why I've taken other quarterbacks over him in past years, but it doesn't mean I don't like Kyler Murray. I've always been a Kyler Murray fan. It's just the situation that he's in. My biggest concern with Kyler Murray and why I don't have him higher is that they didn't really improve the weapons. They just didn't. They got the same set of weapons that they had last year. They signed who was the veteran receiver they got? Just not. This is why it doesn't matter, because I can't even remember. That's how, like Marvin Harrison has to take that next step. Like I said in the other video, he's added a bunch of muscle. Hey, that's great. That means you shouldn't be getting manhandled by corners. And listen, he's got all the potential in the world. He still had a decent rookie season last year. He just didn't have the boom season that everybody was expecting. So now everybody's like, oh, Marvin Harrison sucks. Kyler Murray sucks. No, you just have to be realistic about what to expect from rookies. And that's why I talk about with that rookie quarterbacks. It's going to be the same with like rookie receivers that we see. I'm not going to overpay for a guy that I know is going to take 4, 5, 6 weeks to get going. Last year, Marvin Harrison he didn't have the consistency. Trey McBride didn't have the touchdowns. Now, that was partially because James Conner was getting a bunch of touchdowns, but it was partially because Kyler Murray didn't throw. I think he only threw for 23 touchdowns or 24 touchdowns, something like that last year. He just didn't have the numbers last year, which was, like I said, he's an enigma, man. It just doesn't make sense. So that's Kyler Murray, super talented, uber talented quarterback. He's always got a question at the end of the day. And it's never about his talent. It's about why the hell didn't this work out? And that's why he's at 14 and not 6. Because he can finish as 5, 6 best quarterback. Kyler Murray can finish as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy football. I hope they go sign a guy like Amari Cooper. And just give them a vet out there, one more guy that he feels like he can trust. Because if he does, I think it's only going to help their potential. Go get him one more weapon and give me a little more confidence that I should draft Murray in the top 10 instead of here at 14. That's how I feel about Kyler Murray. I need more weapons for him. And I know that's amazing to say with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner. Give me one more guy out there, please, that I feel confident in. And I will put Kyler Murray up higher. But right now, Kyler Murray's at 14 because, like I said, he's an enigma, man. Potential to finish number 1, potential to finish 22nd, 23rd because he gets banged up and misses 4 games. Just a wide range. And with that, I'm not drafting you as a top 10 quarterback because I can't have that insecurity about what's going to happen. And with that, I'm going to move on to our number 13 quarterback, which is C.J. Stroud. This is some people, they'd call this guy an enigma because they don't know how to face reality. Off his rookie season, C.J. Stroud was overvalued. Period. People had him as the 5th, 6th best quarterback coming into last year. That's fucking ridiculous because they didn't really look at what happened his rookie season. I think he only threw 23 touchdowns his rookie season. You saw all the tools. You saw the excitement. You saw a big game here and there. But at the end of the day, C.J. Stroud didn't throw 35 touchdowns his rookie season. He threw 23. You can't just expect him to jump to 35 just because he got Stephon Diggs from Buffalo. Just because Tank Dell showed out a little bit. Nico Collins is legit, and we'll get into that when we get into wide receiver rankings. But C.J. Stroud is coming in this year undervalued. So coming into last year, he's overvalued. This year, people got him at 20, 22. I've seen him at 24 in a ranking. I was like, you out of your fucking mind. What's wrong with you? Have you not watched football? C.J. Stroud has got everything you want in a quarterback. Everything. Except for the shamble of an offensive line and the injuries to every receiver that played last year for the Texans. You guys act like that didn't happen, and now he's the worst quarterback ever. You act like every receiver they had didn't miss time. That maybe Xavier Hutchinson, he didn't miss time? I would have to look at that because I think he didn't play every game. So now on top of that, his offensive line was a fucking disaster. Now, was trading Laramie Tunsil away the answer? We'll find out. I talked to a guy on one of my other videos, commenter, Mellow Mike 1014 or something like that. Credit to you, buddy, for giving me a little inside intel on the Texans. That Tunsil seemed to be a finger pointer when it comes to things. He was blaming the center on false start penalties. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But at the end of the day, I don't want a finger pointer. I want someone that's taking accountability for what's going on. And I get why the Texans may have moved on from him because of that. Now, this is all speculation. There's just a guy on the video comment, let me know what's going on. I'm going to take him at his word because he's a Texas fan. He's probably diving deep like I do for the Lions, like you do for your team, and go with the fact that, hey, this guy might have been the problem. If he's got that piss-poor attitude and he's supposed to be your leader, hey, attitude reflects leadership. Go back to remember the Titans, baby. Attitude reflects leadership. Laramie Tunsil was the leader of that line last year, and if he's got a piss-poor attitude, that explains a lot. On top of the fact that Kenyon Green got banged up last year, and they just didn't have a very good offensive line. Now, they made a lot of moves, drafted the Connerly kid. They drafted Connerly, right? Yeah, they drafted – oh, no. I think they drafted Ursery in the second round. I think that's what happened with the Texans. I'd have to go back and look. I think Connerly went to Minnesota. No, Jackson went to Minnesota. I forget where Connerly went now. I can't even remember. But all the same, back to what I was talking about. I do feel like the Texans improved their offensive line regardless of trading Tunsil with the other signings and draft picks they made. Now, I think Ursery is going to take a year to swap over to left tackle. Maybe not. Maybe they start him at left tackle. Maybe they get him going early. I think he's a guy that I thought, like I talked to my buddies the Niners fan, I thought the Niners would have been a perfect fit for him, having Trent Williams at that left tackle, having him at right tackle this year with the plan to move him over when Williams retires. Didn't happen. He ends up with the Texans. Hey, I still like the guy as a prospect. I still think he's going to be an awesome offensive lineman. I just want him to be starting at right tackle before he moves to left tackle, just so he can get to the pros and get ready for the pros, get used to the pros. Maybe he switches over before in the middle of the season. We don't know. But I already think their offensive line's improved. Now the question is, can new receivers stay healthy? They traded for a hurt guy in Christian Kirk. Tank Dell's not playing this year. Nico Collins, who's probably the fifth, sixth best quarterback in fantasy this year, our best wide receiver in fantasy this year, and they drafted the two Iowa State wide receivers who I absolutely love, and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. Guys, he's got the weapons. Dalton Schultz is still there, who was never a dominant tight end, but always a trustworthy one. Now, maybe with them changing the OC, you see more of Dalton Schultz involved, but I think they got plenty of weapons to go there for C.J. Stroud to have a really good year this year. I think he's going to end up around 400 yards, probably 35 touchdowns, 32 to 35 touchdowns, and going to be everything you want in a fantasy quarterback, and you're going to get him at a discount because you're probably going to draft him as the 18th best quarterback. I got him here at 13, and I probably should have him at 9. But at the end of the day, I'm huge on C.J. Stroud. I just got him here because I think you're going to get a value on him when you draft him, no matter where you draft him. As long as you're not reaching for him as above, guys that are definite top 10 picks or whatever in Superflex leagues. So C.J. Stroud should be gone by the third round in a Superflex to me. Now, you could probably get him in the fifth because of how people feel about him and get a steal, and it's just something to think about. Maybe do a couple mock drafts, see where he's going in those mocks for a Superflex. See if you can get him a little bit later and work your draft board a little bit better. That's all it comes down to draft strategy. It's the same with a guy like Stafford. I'm not drafting Stafford in the third round. I'm going to draft Stafford in the sixth round and get a seventh round and get a steal, man. So Michael Penix, I'm going to draft that guy in the ninth or 10th round, going to get possibly the 10th, 8th, 9th best quarterback overall. It's all draft strategy comes into play. But when it comes to how I'd rank these guys, how I'd draft them if I had every pick in order for quarterbacks, I got C.J. Stroud at 13 simply because I think that's where he should have always been last year and this year. He shouldn't have been a top 5 quarterback, top 6 quarterback last year. He shouldn't be the 20th best quarterback this year. He's right around 13 because you want to see the offensive line improvements. You want to see the wide receiver improvement or steadiness. You want to see all those players come out and do what they're supposed to do. And if they do, man, C.J. Stroud, rocket ship, baby, to the moon. Number 12, one of the more debatable players of where he's going to be ranked. Last year was 4-2 as a starter. I think it was 4-1, 4-2 as a starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's Justin Fields, who is now with the New York Jets. They did not draft anybody to compete with him, which I absolutely love. And they got Tyrod Taylor there, who's always been a solid vet as a backup. He's always been one of the better backups in the NFL, and I'm fine with him being a backup because I think Justin Fields is going to show what he's always meant to be done. And I think he's breaking out this year. I think with Garrett Wilson there, Arian Smith, the wide receiver they drafted, the speed guy. You get Mason Taylor, the rookie tight end, who's a physical freak, got all the tools you want. I think he's just got to get into more about discipline, like I said about that, with his false start penalties and a couple drops here and there in college. It just stuck out to me when I watch it. It's like, oh, this guy needs to be more disciplined. This guy needs to be locked in. So we'll see what that happens over the course of the season. But Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, all these guys they got, man, they got weapons around them, and they're going to run the ball. Tanner Engstrand, a quarterback's coach from the Lions that came over with Aaron Glenn to be the offensive coordinator, he understands how to protect the quarterback by running the ball. And with Justin Fields' running capability, Justin Fields is going to be a staple back this year if he can succeed at all in passing. To me, I think that's going to happen this year. So I got him ranked here at number 12. I had him a little bit higher, I think, when I initially put my list together and then I started going through stuff. I think I had him at 9. He's dropped a couple spots just because I would have liked them to get another weapon besides Arian Smith out there. I wish they would go sign Keenan Allen. They go sign Keenan Allen, or I'm going to be super happy to draft Justin Fields. He's going to move back into that top 10. Justin Fields is the new generation of quarterbacks that can run and pass. And maybe he doesn't hit the 3,800 yards passing. Maybe it's 3,500. But he'll probably have 600 or 700 yards rushing if he starts all season. That's fantasy gold, baby. fantasy gold. And Justin Fields should be a draft pick you're making this year. You're going to get him behind a guy like Kyler Murray. You're going to get him behind a guy, probably Caleb Williams. And I think he should definitely be over Caleb Williams, even though Caleb Williams was the guy that replaced him in Chicago. I still like Justin Fields better than Caleb Williams right now in fantasy, and I think you should too. I think he's going to be in a good situation with the Jets to succeed. And without the threat of somebody replacing him, like a Russell Wilson sitting behind him, it's going to be gold for him. So draft Justin Fields with confidence this year, guys. That offensive line is good enough to keep him safe and upright. And Garrett Wilson's still a number one wide receiver. Don't fool yourself. Getting Mason Taylor, getting Arian Smith, having Breece Hall as a receiving back, just gold, man. Just gold for Justin Fields' situation this year. Number 11. Could be higher, could be lower. Well, I'll see what happens. I think he's going to be higher on a lot of people's lists. He could end up moving my list by the time the season starts. That's Dak Prescott. Prescott's biggest thing is the Cowboys more than anything, but staying healthy, man. He's been banged up a few years over the last handful of years, and taking the hits that he takes sometimes is going to be that risk. Now, that's the risk with every quarterback that gets blasted. Their offensive line is in a turnover period right now, but they definitely would be getting Tyler Booker. I love that. Definitely could probably add another vet to that offensive line for competition, for possibly becoming a starter. But I'm not worried as much about the offensive line as I was going into last year for the Cowboys. Prescott was ranked lower, and with them only having CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson, tight end, there wasn't a lot of weapons there, man. And without weapons, it's hard to be a successful quarterback. Now, you see, CeeDee Lamb didn't have the season everybody expected. He was the number one wide receiver on everybody's board. There's a reason for that. Part of it was Dak got hurt. Part of it was when you're the only guy that can be focused on, it's going to be much easier to contain what you can do for fantasy purposes. Yes, for the NFL, CeeDee Lamb's still top 5 wide receiver. For fantasy last year, he couldn't get to be because of the attention that was paid to him. And with Dak getting banged up, that's never going to help. Now, Dak has to stay healthy. The run game has to be better. But getting George Pickens to go with CeeDee Lamb, to give them a true number 2, to give them a very talented number 2, and Ferguson, a tight end, Jane Blue coming out the backfield as a receiving back, Dak's got more weapons this year, and that's only going to make him more valuable for fantasy. We've seen Dak finish as a top 5 quarterback. Dak can definitely finish as a top 5 quarterback if he stays healthy. I got him at 11 because I'm concerned. I'm always going to be concerned about health. If I'm risking a first or second round pick in a super flex, health is always going to be a factor into what I'm doing. So at the end of the day, I got Dak at 11 for that reason. Dak can finish as a top 5 quarterback, no problem. I get it if you want to put him a little bit higher. I get him if you want to put him a little bit lower because of the injury concerns. But this is where I think is a good spot for Dak here at 11. Just outside that top 10, definitely can finish inside the top 10. Number 10 is Bo Nix. Talked about him in the staple back video. I'll put it up here for fantasy to find out what a staple back is. It's just about the requirements needed to be a dual threat weapon in fantasy. That's all it is. Running backs to catch the ball, quarterbacks that run the ball, wide receivers that run the ball and do punt returns and stuff. These are all the credentials for trying to be a staple back in the fantasy. And Bo Nix hit all 3 marks last year for the requirements for him. I think Bo Nix is only ascending. And with that R.J. Harvey draft pick, the Pat Bryant, who, okay, they drafted maybe a round higher than I would have, still a good receiver. Marvin Mims getting better. Cortland Sutton's still there. And them signing Evan Ingram, Bo Nix could finish as a top 5 quarterback this year. Now, is he going to because of the talent the other? No, he'll probably end up finishing 7th or 8th, somewhere around there like he did last year. I got him at 10th here just because, I like these other guys better than him. And I might swap him and where I got Goff at 8 right now. But we'll figure that out when time comes for the final drafts going into preseason and into the preseason. But right now I got Bo Nix here because he is a top 10 back to me in fantasy. He's a staple back. He's a guy that I'm looking to draft in the 3rd round of drafts, 4th round of drafts for super flex leagues, or as a number 1. You get him as a number 1 in like the 7th, 8th round of a single quarterback league. You're probably winning your league if you did right with the rest of your draft picks. So Bo Nix ascending, baby, ascending. Number 9, Justin Herbert. I had Justin Herbert help me win a championship a couple years ago. Last year, didn't have the stats that we wanted, but still had plenty of stats. Got banged up a little bit. I think it was a thumb injury or something. I forget what it was. A hand injury. I forget what it was last year. I'd have to go back and read about that. But all the same, Justin Herbert, all the physical gifts you could ever ask for. Plus, he runs a little bit, get 250, 300 yards rushing. Maybe he can hit that 400-yard staple back credential if everything pops off right. But at the end of the day, them improving their weapons, getting Trey Harris, bringing Mike Williams back, getting Amari and Hampton, improving their having a solid offensive line, and I think they draft somebody now. Maybe they signed somebody. I'd have to go back. I can't remember which one it was. I know they got another offensive lineman added to that group, which I'm happy to see because anytime you're improving your offensive line, you're going to have a better chance of success. But Justin Herbert's got all the tools you want. There's not much I need to say about him other than he's a super talented guy. I got him here at 9 for the simple fact of Trey Harris has to prove himself. Mike Williams has to stay healthy. But if these things, either of those things happen, either one of those, with Ladidi out there running around like a madman, Amari Hampton with his receiving skills, just weapons galore out there if they could all pop off. So we'll see what happens. I think Justin Herbert's going to have an awesome year. He's a guy I'm looking for 35-plus touchdowns, definitely 30-plus touchdowns from in fantasy. And if he can hit that 35 mark, he's going to be a top 6, top 8 receiver or quarterback. But he's more of a traditional pocket quarterback that runs when he needs to. They don't really draw up a lot of designed runs for him. So that's why I don't think he'll ever hit that staple back mark. But he's always going to have 200, 250, 300 yards rushing because of his physical gifts, because he understands when to run or needs to run sometimes. But at the end of the day, Justin Herbert, you're going to be happy to have him on your team. That's all there is to it. You got Justin Herbert, you have a chance to win. Number 8, Jared Goff. Just mentioned a minute ago. Jared Goff and Bo Nix probably swap spots here. And now that I'm looking at it, just because of the fact that Jared Goff is a pocket quarterback. But the thing I like about Jared Goff, he's a safe bet. Bo Nix, hey, you're not a safe bet yet. You're a high prospect, a guy that I like a lot going into this draft. I've been fooled before, so I'm not going to sit here and say that I would take Bo Nix over the safe bet. And what Jared Goff did last year, he set some career highs. I know they got the change in OC with Benedict Johnson going over to the Bears. I was bringing in Johnny Morton from the Broncos, who was with the Lions, 3 years ago? I don't think there's going to be a lot of change with what we're doing. They've said they might take some more deep shots this year, which is great news for Jameson Williams. Great news for Jared Goff if he can hit them on time. And with that play action game that they got there in Detroit with those 2 running backs, just makes it easier for that. But everybody is concerned, Jared Goff is going to fall off. I don't understand why. The offensive line is still good. The receiving options are all the same. And we added Isaac Tesla, who, you know how I feel about that if you go look at my best and worst moves decisions or a draft review video. But he's still a guy that has skill and can come in and help out. Khalif Raymond's still there. Like, all our weapons are the same. Jared Goff's still the same guy. That's a good thing and a bad thing, depending on what point in the game we're counting on and if it's the playoffs or not. But for fantasy purposes, Jared Goff might fall off a little bit from what he did last year. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to everybody's he could be the bust of the draft. And no, I don't think that's even a chance. Because at the end of the day, he's just going to go to Amon-Ra. He's going to go to Laporta. He's going to go to J-Mo downfield running free. He's going to go to Gibbs out the backfield. Like, he's still got all the same weapons, guys. This is one of those. That's why I say safe bet. This is a safe bet as a top 10 quarterback. Top 12 quarterback at worst, in my mind. Jared Goff is the safest bet of a pocket QB, of a non-running QB in the fantasy football. And for him, to me, he's still the eighth best quarterback in fantasy football because I need a safe bet sometimes. Sometimes that's all you need. Last year, I drafted Jared Goff as my number 1, and I drafted Jaden Daniels as my number 2. I got Goff in the 4th round, 5th round, something like that. And I got Jaden Daniels, like I said, in the 7th or 8th round or something. And this is in a 2 QB league. I waited on quarterbacks. It paid off. Damn near won the league. Almost went back to back. But didn't happen, whatever. But that doesn't mean it was Jared Goff's fault. I promise you that. Other than week 18 when he let me down a little bit. But at the end of the day, Jared Goff is a safe bet in fantasy football that you'll be happy to have on your team. And he's a guy that in single quarterback leagues you can wait on a while because he's a pocket quarterback and everybody wants to get the runner. But at the end of the day, 4,200, 4,300, 4,400 yards and 35 touchdowns is going to help you win a league. So, Jared Goff at number 8. Move on to number 7. Who is the debatably the most shocking player from last year statistically, and that's Baker Mayfield. Like him and Bo Nix were the two biggest shocks for where they ended up statistically. And it's mainly because of rushing yards. Like I knew Bo Nix could run. I didn't know Baker would have as much running yard. I think he had like 350, 360, 380, something like that rushing yards, and was a shock to me. And that was with the weapons that they had. Now, Godwin went down and all that other stuff. But with the running game that they had, for them to still be able to do that, hats off to Liam Cohn, who went to the Panthers. Or no, he went to the Jags. He got signed by the Jags. But hats off to him because what he did in Tampa Bay last year was incredible. They damn near knocked off the Eagles in the playoffs. So Baker Mayfield, I have to put here, man. I have to give him his due. I have my own. I'll tell you the story. Baker Mayfield rookie season did awesome. Year after, I was like, I wasn't big on Baker coming into the NFL draft. I thought he needed some maturity issues, which we saw plenty of, that he had to grow up. And he has grown up. And that's the thing. But his second year, I drafted Baker Mayfield. I think it was the third or fourth round, and drafted Odell Beckham to go with him. And it was a fucking disaster. And it just made me go, well, I was right. Maybe I shouldn't have been big on him. Now, he's moved around. You see the troubles he had, moved from Cleveland to Carolina, out to the Rams for the one start. And then now he's here in Tampa Bay, replacing Tom Brady, and been killing it. 2 years of that, Baker, you got my confidence back in you, buddy. And I'm putting you up here at number 7 because I still think you're going to have 300 rushing yards. Maybe you don't hit that 400-yard mark that I'd love to see as a staple back. But you give me 4,300 yards and 300 yards rushing, you're helping me win fantasy football. And you're going to get Baker Mayfield probably as the 13th, 14th quarterback off the board because most people don't look at him as a running quarterback. But for fantasy purposes, I'm ranking him here at number 7 because you give me 250 to 300 yards and another 42, 4,300 passing yards, hit that 30 touchdown mark, Baker, you're as good as gold to me, man, for what I'm paying for you. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm looking for, the most in drafts. I want to be able to manage my draft to where I get the best value out of every pick, where I'm getting the guy that people aren't looking at late, and he ends up being a top player at his position. This is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield finishes the 5th or 6th best quarterback last year. Hey, man, that's gold to me, especially for what people paid for him last year. So you're going to pay for him more here if you draft him as the 7th quarterback. I think you're going to get him, like I said, as the 13th, 14th quarterback off the board. Maybe the 11th, just because people saw what he did statistically, and they got him another weapon in Ibuka, kept Godwin, Evans is back, all that good stuff. He's probably going to go as the 11th or 12th quarterback off the board, and he should be higher. So get the steal, get the value while it's there, guys. Number 6. This is a guy that I've always been a fan of. I talked about him a little bit ago. Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes, I thought was going to be the first quarterback drafted for 10 years after that 50-touchdown season. They end up trading Tyreek Hill. His stats slowly dwindled down a little bit, and not the player that we all hope for. But another one of those guys that can rush for 250, 300 yards. And I think Patty's about to have a bounce-back season. Some people got him at 9, 10, 11 because of last year. Last year, they dealt with a lot, guys. Rashee Rice went down after the first 3 games. Xavier Worthy took a minute to come on. Travis Kelce was 20 pounds heavier than he is today because he's lost 20 pounds going into this season already. Dropped from 270 back down to 250, what he used to play at. And going to be fleet of foot, faster-footed player this year, just losing that weight. Now, he's not going to be asked to block as much. I can promise you that much if he's losing some weight. He's going to get back to be that receiving option, and he knows he needs to if they expect to win the Super Bowl. But, hey, they did go to the Super Bowl last year, and that was with losing Pacheco, counting on Kareem Hunt, having a slow Kelce. Now, the defense was a huge part of that, and the defense getting turnovers is going to help Patty Mahomes at always unless they score. But Pat Mahomes is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, period. Probably the best NFL quarterback. One of the best fantasy quarterbacks in the NFL. And here at number 6, those people that have him ranked at 9 are drunk to me personally. But I think you should still be paying enough to get Pat Mahomes. Like, he's still a first-round pick in Superflex to me. He's still one of the best quarterbacks. And if they get Rice back healthy and he doesn't get suspended, Worthy's already shown you what he can do. Kelce, 20 pounds lighter, moving better. Pacheco and Kareem Hunt and Elijah Mitchell, just a slew of running backs back there that can help out. Brining Stool, Noah Gray, the other 2 tight ends they got. There's Marquise Brown is back, even though they paid him too much. I don't know if him and Juju will even be on the team. One of them could end up being cut by the end of the preseason or traded to another team, just because I don't have the huge confidence in either of those guys to make a huge impact. But for fantasy purposes, it doesn't matter who Patty throws to. It just matters that he throws it. So as long as he's scoring points, he's scoring points. And when that's plenty of weapons for Patty to get back to doing Patty things. So Patty Mahomes, number 6. He was going to be above this guy until the NFL decided no more tush push. And that's Jalen Hurts. You're number 5. If the tush push would have got banned, Hurts would have dropped a little bit. Being that he didn't, and he's had 15 and 14 touchdowns or some shit like that the last 2 seasons, just rushing alone, Hurts is going to be up here plenty at number 5. Now, he only threw for 2,900 yards last year because of the success they had in the run game. Are they going to have that same success? Who knows? Their schedule could be tougher, easier. They're definitely going to play the number 1 teams in all the divisions, but I'm pretty sure they were doing that last year anyways. Saquon's still a hell of a back. That offensive line's still good, although they did lose Mekhi Becton. So we'll see what kind of impact that has. But Jalen Hurts passing yards is why he's at number 5 and not at number 3. Jalen Hurts not having over 3,000 yards, I need him to be hitting that 36, 37, 3,800-yard mark. Still having the 600 yards, 600 yards rushing that he had last year. And to make him that true staple back. Like I said, he's finished as a staple back before. He can finish as a staple back again this year. Still got A.J. Brown. Still got Devontae Smith. Still got Dallas Goedert. So he's still got the weapons. Still got Barkley at the backfield. Still got the weapons around him. Still got an awesome offensive line. Still has the rushing capability with the tush push to get those touchdowns. I expect Jalen Hurts to be a staple back this year. I expect him to hit 3,800 yards passing. Maybe he only hits 3,500. Hits 600, 700 yards rushing. We'll see what happens. That run game was impeccable last year with him and Saquon Barkley both running. But at the end of the day, you're going to be happy with Jalen Hurts as your quarterback. Now that the tush push didn't get banned, you're not going to be sad that you got him. Now, that's why he's not top 3 because of the passing yards. I need that to improve some. I think it's going to. I think he's probably going to hit 3,500 yards this year, no problem. And because of that, he's my 5th rating quarterback. Number 4. Guy had career highs last year, which is always dangerous to draft a guy coming off career highs, but they kept his weapons, and that's Joe Burrow. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, back again. Paid both of these guys a shit ton of money, paid Joe Burrow, and they're going to have to score 40 because they can't even get their rookie signed. They refuse to extend Trey Hendrickson at this point or trade him. Do one or the other, man. Pay the player or get rid of him. If you're not going to pay him, why don't you just get rid of him? Your defense sucks anyways. You won't even sign your rookies because of some stupid waiver clause and all the other nonsense. That's why I mentioned in the beginning, the Bengals still being fucking idiots and not looking to want to stop anybody. So Burrow's going to have to score 40. Now, he threw for 4,900 yards last year, like 40 touchdowns, 41 touchdowns. I forget what it was. It was right there around 40, though. I think he's going to have to do that again, and I think you're going to be damn happy you draft him. I think he's the top 5 pick in Superflex. I think he's a top 3 round pick in single quarterback. And you get Joe Burrow on your team, you try to stack one of the other guys especially, and be real happy. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow ain't making it out the first round of my redraft league. That's a 2 QB league. He ain't probably making it past the top 6 pick. And that's because of the potential he has. He doesn't need to run to be able to do that. Like I said, he's the last true pocket quarterback, and he can scramble. He'll probably have 120, 140 rushing yards or some shit, but they're never going to count on Burrow's running capability in that offense. This is about what he does as a quarterback, and he's one of the best in the NFL at doing it. He stays healthy. I don't think you're going to have any concerns. He goes for 45, 4,600 yards, 38 to 42 touchdowns. You're going to be a fantasy winner if you have him on your team and you built a good team. So, number 3, superstar Jaden Daniels. I love Jaden Daniels. I was real big on him coming in last year. I think he's the next Lamar, and that's just the truth. The truth to it. I think he's probably a better passer, or he's definitely a better passer than Lamar was coming into the league. And him and Lamar are probably very similar right now. You could pick any of these guys at the top 3 and swap them around to me, but these should be the top 3 quarterbacks drafted in all leagues. And Jaden Daniels, if he had a better receiving core, I would probably just draft a number 1 at the end of the day. That's where I think he could finish. They're another team that if they go get one of these vets, man, or make a trade for a guy like Olave to go with them, But first, they need to pay McLaurin. So do that first, Washington. Commanders, one of your guys is commanding money. Pay him. He's been a loyal damn soldier for you. It's time to make him paid because he is a number one wide receiver. You've seen what he did last year. You've seen how important he is to Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels is a fucking superstar. So draft him. Clap your hands. Say thanks to everybody that didn't draft him and move on in your draft. Number 2. Hey, I told you, these top 3 are hard. I got Josh Allen at number 2. He's a touchdown machine. We all know that. 15 rushing touchdowns, 11 rushing touchdowns, 9 rushing touchdowns. I wish they would have improved his receivers more, but I'm not going to have any doubts on what Josh Allen does on a football field for fantasy or just regular NFL football. Josh Allen is a fucking superstar, same as Jaden Daniels, same as a couple of these other guys that you're going to be happy if you have him on your team. He should be a top 3 pick in any Superflex league. You could argue he's the number 1 pick, but at the end of the day, Josh Allen is going to continue to score touchdowns, and that is 6 points every time. Unless you're one of them dumbass leagues that does 4 passing touchdowns, 4-point passing touchdowns. Fools! Fix your league. It's 6 points. Not since 1912. I'm going to keep saying that. 1912 was the last time a touchdown counted as 4 points in the NFL. Fix your fantasy teams. Demand it from your commissioner. Protest outside their house if you have to. Change it to 6-point passing touchdowns. Because Josh Allen would just be that much more valuable. Maybe he would be the number 1 quarterback if that was the case. But when the guy at number 1 throws more touchdowns and still has 7-8 rushing touchdowns and all the rushing yards that he gets, that's Mr. Extravagant, Mr. Excellent, Mr. Lamar effing mother loving Jackson. That's all there is to it. He is the staple back king. He is the definition of a staple back. That 1,200-yard season he had 5-6 years ago, rushing, was just unbelievable, man. Still threw for like 3,200 yards that year, 3,400 yards. Last year, he hits 4,000 some yards, 42 touchdowns, 41, 42 touchdowns. Still has 8 rushing touchdowns. I think it was. Maybe it was 6. I forget what it was. But Lamar Jackson's one of my favorite players in the NFL. For fantasy, for NFL. 3 teams have won a championship in my league with Lamar Jackson over the last 5-6 years. Because Lamar Jackson is that fucking special. Lamar Jackson should be the first player drafted in Superflex leagues. Over running backs, over Jamar Chase receivers. Lamar Jackson should be the first player drafted in my mind in every Superflex league. He should be the first quarterback drafted in any league. And like especially best ball, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, those guys are the moonshots, man. You get any of these top 3 guys, you are winning your league more times than not. So at the end of the day, that's our top 32 guys. Hope you liked the video. I mentioned this. I put a post up on the channel page too. We recently hit 1,000 total views, not per video, but overall, which to me is awesome because we just started this a couple months ago. I just want to say thanks to everybody that's been watching the videos, is subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, click that button right about there. Like, comment, do all that great stuff, guys, because I appreciate it and it helps the channel grow, helps what we're trying to do here. And we just want to talk about football all day long, man. I love football. I just want to keep talking about it all day long. I have no reason not to because it's what I'm thinking about the majority of the time, even in the off season. I love talking about football. Love thinking about football, already preparing for next year's draft before the season's over to last year. But at the end of the day, we're going to get out of here. Hope everyone's having a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're listening. Until next time, I'm out.